a trade, not I'll love you if you give me something. Genuine love. And if that happens, you become significant in people's lives. But that's the number one challenge in this community. So significance love habitat. If you're significant, you're the individual. But I need to be connected. Well, if I'm so connected, who am I? And that's the pull. The secret to it all are the final two needs. These are the spiritual needs, not religious, but spiritual. And that is, we all must grow. When you grow, you feel alive. And if you don't grow, you start to die inside. And this isn't my rule. Everything in the universe grows or dies, as you well know. This is the law of the universe. If your relationship's not growing, it's dying. Don't bullshit yourself. If your business is not growing, you're a businessman, you know, it is not growing, it is dying. You better do something now, right? But we grow so we have something finally to give, which is where meaning comes in life. When I grow, I have something more to give, and if I can give that to someone, then my life is more meaningful than just the pleasure of, I have the machine that, you know, makes me feel pleasure in certain parts of my body and feeds me and all the things you talked about. If you went to Vegas and you pull down that, you know, that little jukebox thing, and you get boom, 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 bars, 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 what's your reaction?
Amazing.
Amazing. Wow, this isn't it? And you pull it a second time, and you get it again.
Amazing.
And you do it a third time, and you get it again.
Less amazing.
And now you do 100 times.
Yeah, less amazing.
And now what you have is a job. You do this, and you got a predictable outcome. The fact that you don't know what the outcome is, that's the jackpot in it that gets someone hooked on anything. That's what makes it significant, because it's scarce, right? So when you do this, if I said to you, Osama bin Laden, what would you say is top need driving force? Was it certainty? Was it variety? Was it significance? Was it love? Was it growth or contribution?
I'd say probably significance.
100%. He was one of, I forgot the number, 27 children, right? Literally, he was 27 children. He was a nobody. He took his dad's money. He was not very religious. And he went to Afghanistan, and he used his money and became significant. Not by shooting people, he provided resources. And then all of a sudden, his entire life changed. How do you know? The most significant thing is he sent other people to die. He didn't go to die. He sent other people. Now, his number one drive is significance, and his way of doing it was get other people to die. On that same day in 9/11, there were men and women in the fire department, the police department, who went into those buildings knowing it, a good chance they would die to save a stranger. Also driven by significance, but with different rules. If I die a hero, my life is meaningful. And that's a meaningful life. So people can even have the same need structure, but their beliefs about how to meet those needs are the most important thing. And the needs of connection and love, growth and contribution have no downside. Certainty if you have certainty as your number one thing, you're always trying to keep life the same way, and you're gonna be stressed out, especially with AI, you're gonna be really stressed out. If you're a variety person, you can have a lot of fun, but eventually not much variety. The life you describe for all these people, now they have the money, they have the sex, they have this, they have that, they have the woman, they have the notoriety, they have the Academy Award. It all gets old, because if we're not growing, it doesn't matter. How many people do you know that were famous, who were rich, who had supposedly everything people want, and took their own life? Why did they take their life? They stopped growing and stopped having a sense of meaning by giving. I can show you example after example of people. So these need structures in the new world have to be met. We can meet certainty right now very easily by going online and controlling our communication. That's why people text. That's much easier than communicating back and forth with someone, right? We can get variety by going online so easily now. We can get significance, tear other people down, or work on something significant, we think, right? AI, explore the world. We can get a sense of connection through people online, or through a robot, or these days people have an AI and they talk to it like it's their boyfriend or girlfriend, because it totally affirms them. You say something idiotic and they tell you, you're so smart, right? Get better, right? But you're missing growing and contributing. If you're missing growing and contributing, you will not feel fulfilled. You, as a person, if I've read your books correctly, and I didn't read them all, but I've had pieces of it, probably the best lesson you got early in life was, there's the science of achievement, there's the art of fulfillment. They're two different skills. If you want an extraordinary life, you need both. You go to the East, they're really great about fulfillment. They can live in poverty and feel totally happy and connected to God or the universe. You come here and people can have an incredible external life, but their internal life often not so nice. They get really pissed off because they didn't get their special sauce on their burger, right? It's a different world. I believe you can merge those two. How? You master the science of achievement. There are rules to achieve, as you well know. There's an old book with 33 rules in it. Me too, right? So I know those rules. I wrote books on finance, 3 of them. I want an answer, is it still possible to win the financial game? Because so many young people think it can't be done. So I interviewed 50 of the greatest financial people alive today. All started with nothing, all billionaires, nobody from the Lucky Sperm Club. They all did it on their own. Ray Dalio, Carl Icahn, Warren Buffett, all of them. And guess what I found? They're all different, but I'm a modeler. I found the strategies that are common between them, and I applied them. I taught other people, wrote the books, but I applied them myself. And that's how my businesses and my life grew geometrically. I modeled, I didn't have to learn on my own experience. You follow?
I've got to ask you some questions
Yes.
on those 2 points. So on these 6 needs, because I also want to ask you about the 50 rich people that you've interviewed for the books, but on those 6 needs, when you look at someone like me and you look at the broad world that I'm heading towards as a 30-year-old man, what configuration of these needs?
Well, I'll tell you what creates all the pain first.
Okay, please.
So if I go to a room and I'll say, I explain these needs like I have. I know this is kind of a lecture here. I didn't mean to be that, but I just want to share because I'm so passionate about it. And I'll get people to understand what they are, and then I ask them, I want you to write down what you think your top 2 needs have been, not in what you want, but in the way you've been living. Because people may want love, but they think they have to be significant before they can get it. Or they might want love, but they want certainty that love will never go away. You follow me? Mm-hmm. And so that modifies things. And I'll say, so the way you've lived, what have been the top 2? And then I say, I want you to write a paragraph about what's the downside of having that one so high on your list. And it's amazing. So then I say, now write what you think your list top 2 should be to go to the next level of your life. Okay? Let's have you do that. What do you think your top 2 needs have? I see you doing it already, which I love. I love how active you are. So what would you say your top 2 have been up until now?
I think, if I'm being completely honest.
Yes, and by the way, I want to thank you because I watched several of your pieces, and you're not bullshitting about it. So go ahead.
There's just no, I'm going to die someday, so there's no, even if being honest makes me look bad, it's like, who cares? Of course, like, significance, of course.
Yes.
Especially from where I came from.
Yeah.
That was the big problem, was, being different and not in a good way.
That's right.
And then I would say, interestingly, it feels like uncertainty and significance are really, really high for me, because
yes,
for some reason, I have a huge appetite for uncertainty.
Yeah, well,
Disruption.
You're wired that way in a beautiful way. It also leads to learning for you. That's one of your vehicles for learning, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dropping out of school, stopping going to school when I was younger, dropping out of university.
Yeah.
Quitting jobs where, I shouldn't have quit them after a month.
Which, by the way, if certainty was your top need, would you have done that?
No.
No. Completely. So do you understand this? I'm talking about the 6 controlling forces of your life. There's a million stories about your life, but there's only 6 reasons you do anything.
Yeah.
You have all these stories with reasons. So what would you say would be the downside of that? By the way, there have been upsides, right?
Yeah, great, yeah.
We're sitting here because of the upsides. Your desire for significance made you look for significant ideas, significant application, succeed in business.
The downsides of wanting significance is...
At the top, not because it's valuable. Significance is valuable, period. Everyone should want it. But it's the sequence. So if it's the top of your list, what's the downside?
For me, it costs me connection and love and all these and some of these other opportunities.
That's correct. Which is what you really want underneath it all.
Yeah.
Your desire for significance really came from the fact that you were not loved and connected by people. People judge you the color of your skin. They put you in a community where you were different. You were outside so it's like, I'll show them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a very healthy response, right? But now, at this stage of your life, this is the gift that you have now at this stage of your life, right? You're entering this 2nd season, right?
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to be driven by that anymore. You already are significant.
Yeah.
Like, what more are you going to do that's not significant? I'm sure you'll find more significant things to do, but you've done so many significant things. You've helped millions of people, I'm sure, through your insights, your elements. You've written books, you've built businesses, and you're only 33 years old. That's pretty effing awesome, right? So now you get the leisure of being able to sit back and say, now with a greater level of consciousness, what would ideally be my top 2? What would you say your top 2 needs to be to have the next level of your life, to go to the next level for you?
It was really easy for me to answer this question. Connection and love, and the need to grow and give.
Yes. Yeah, well, those are 2 different ones. Contribution, growth and contribution. Of those 2, which one do you think is even more important for you?
Oh, God, of those 2.
Yeah. It's hard because one you can see as a vehicle to the other.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand that, but I'm asking a different question. I'm saying which is more important to feel, experience?
It would be contribution.
Yes. So for you, you're saying love and contribution?
I'm saying love and contribution.
In what order?
Love first and then contribution.
It's a good choice.
I tried in my head. I tried the other way around, and I thought, no. It's almost like monks have said to me many years ago that you need to fill up your cup so you have something to pour out for others.
Yes,
and that's what I was thinking of. I was thinking it doesn't work the other way around.
That was a wise choice. Most people wouldn't make that choice. For most of my life, was contribution first and then love. It was my way of earning love. And so, like, I'd be on stage for 13 hours, and this is before people had phones, and everybody wants to sign something and give me a hug. I work my guts out, and then that was my take it in time. So I'd be there, finish at 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and I'd be there till 3:30, till every person had an autograph, got, their hug and everything else. Now it's pictures a lot faster, but that was my life. I met my wife, Sage, changed my entire life. She didn't care that I was Tony Robbins. She just loved me, and all of a sudden, I never thought 12,000, 15,000, 20,000 people of love pouring at you could compare, one person could compare, but way beyond that. So now I finish it, when I give my guts, I go to 1 in the morning, but then I get up and I leave, right? I take pictures in the middle of the day, but then I leave at that time and I go and be with my wife. And it switched where love was there, because think about this, if contribution is first, and this is what a lot of people do, then it's a way to protect yourself from feeling rejected. Because if I'm always giving to you, truly generously, over beyond what you can imagine, and then you treat me like shit, well, then you're clearly the problem, right? I don't have to think I'm not enough. So, but the more honest way is love, because if it's love first, now I'm giving because I want to, not because I have to. Does that make sense? So tell me how you think that would change your life if you made love and contribution your top two, and the way you actually live. Because you already value love and contribution, but if they were the highest priority, how would it shift your life for the better in your mind?
I feel like I would be significantly less stressed.
You are correct. You are absolutely correct. So when I ask the audience this, I have them write down, and I've got 15,000 people, and I'll say, okay, how many have certainty on your list? And they've come to an event that has a firewalk, right? And you get like 50, 60% of the rooms in their top two of their list, right? Because in our culture, it's still the most important one. It's the foundational one. It's the one that's going to have the biggest problem with AI, because they want things to stay the same, and life isn't. The only thing that's for certain is change. And now rapid change, like geometrically rapid change. Okay, variety, small number, significance, through the roof. Social media has made significance disproportionate in our culture, and that's why people are so unhappy. You used to maybe compare most yourself to your neighbors or your friends. Now you compare yourself to a billionaires, of which there's only 3,000, right? And so you're like, my life's not that great anymore. Or you compare it to pictures that have been doctored. A friend of mine owns a gym, and he says, Tony, you can't believe it. Women and men come in here who are influencers. They lay everything out, and then they do their video, and they never work out. They're 27 years old. They don't have to work out for shit. I mean, it's like they do a minimum workout. They got jeans. They're just fine. They don't even do the workout. It's all pictures. It's all bullshit, right? He goes, it makes me so mad because, real people there working hard to make something happen. So that's why people get women especially, depressed, comparing themselves to images that are not even real, right? It's totally absurd. So when I do it with the audience, though, certainty and significance is 80% of the room. Right? There's growth people, contribution people, but that's the dominant force because of our cultural conditioning and because certainty is basically a survival tool. Then I've asked them to do what you did. And I say, okay, tell me. I don't tell them anything. Like, I didn't tell you anything. And then I say, okay, who has certainty on their list now? And in a room of 15,000 people, 12,000 people, there might be like 5. Okay, there's 5 people that really don't like pain. So I point that out to them and they look at me. And then I go, okay, how many you got? Variety, it'll be more variety. How many got significance? The number plummets, just like it did with you. People, I didn't tell them anything. Their own intelligence knows this, right? How many got love? Through the roof, right? Contribution through the roof, growth through the roof. Those are the ones that expand. And then we show people how to condition that, though, because it's one thing to know it. It's another thing to start training it in your body to make those priorities happen in your life, right? Just like any other habit, working out or anything else. You have to build the neurology of that. You have to practice putting yourself in those states over and over again where you make the value based on love or you make the value based on contribution. See, before, you do something to be significant and you miss out on some of the love. Now, love is probably always what you wanted. That's why you can make that decision so quickly. Right? But now I'm going to go for that first, not this circuitous route. And by the way, you will still be significant. You'll be loving first, and you'll be contributing, and that will make you significant.
Is it really possible to change like that deeply?
No, not at all. I've never been able to do that. And
I asked
my 49th year. I've never seen that happen.
No, I was thinking really, really deeply about what you were saying, and I was thinking there will be some people that are listening, and I think there was maybe a part of me, my conscious, that's like, because because that's a journey I've never gone on before. I've never shifted from the.
Well, you're not going to do it by discussion. You have to have leverage.
And like, what is that? How do
leverage
I do that?
is you have to have something you value more than your present way of doing things. Leverage can be pain or pleasure, right? So,
like my fiance.
Your fiance. Yeah, so I understand how you got to LA. Yeah. A little leverage, right? Her love, her happiness, her joy. Oh, that's beautiful.
It's a face.
My girl.
You and Sage.
That's awesome. You're good at putting people to sleep with pictures. That's impressive.
It's a beautiful photo.
Yeah, I love her so much. We've been together 25 years. I love her more today than ever before. She is a force in nature, this woman. Really, really great. But yes, she's leverage in my life. My youngest daughter's massive leverage, you know, 4.5 years old. It's beautiful. But I'll give you an example. I worked with a woman one time on stage, and she was a colon therapist and vegan, and you know, but she was always sick because she's so stressed all the time, trying to be perfect at everything. There's a constriction in her body, right? And the level of stress was just ridiculous, right? So I was trying to get her to have some other options about what to do without boring with the whole story. I'm looking for leverage always. That's how you get someone to make a change. You got to make change a must, not a should. Not me making it to you. If I put a gun to your head, that's leverage. But some people would rather die than bend to your will. You have to find out what moves that person. It's unique for everyone, not what motivates them. I hate the word motivation. I've never used it. I want to know your drives. Look, if you're fat, you're motivated to eat. I want to know what's underneath. I want to know what the drives are. So this woman, I'm trying to help her make changes, and I show her these things and see the consequences, and she wouldn't change. So finally I said, man, I got to push this lady. I said, how long, I wouldn't tell her this, I asked, I said, how long will the person with a level of stress, with these things you're doing and these ailments, how long will a person like that live if they don't change? And she paused and she thought, and she said, probably to 35. How old are you? 32. So I thought, okay, she's gonna change now. I mean, she's gonna do it, right? That's the leverage, she's gotta change. But I can't change, I just can't, it's just how my life is. I said, this session is on videotape, you know? And I said, how do you think your daughter's gonna feel when she's carrying your coffin and she knows that you knew you could shift this and you didn't? This is pretty intense. I mean, she thinks she's gonna die. If she doesn't do it, she probably could. So I'm picking up big leverage, right? She goes, I know, that's horrible, but I can't change. And part of my head, I'm like, holy shit, she's not gonna change here. What the hell's gonna change her? And then I said to her, I said, yeah, what if her new mother's a meat eater? And she exploded on stage. That is not happening. I will not make this happen. I mean, she went berserk. And she goes, fine, I'm changing this now. Like, there is always leverage. There is something that will make change a must and not a should. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of strong enough reasons, of motive. If you got strong enough reasons, you can do just about anything. But if you have weak reasons, you're not going to do anything. So the fact that you understand this is our discussion. In an event, you'd be in a rather peak state, and I take you through a process of consequence where you will envision what the consequences are, and then you can make that shift. And you still got to condition it. This specific change is the hardest one.
I think a lot of people might say, I was thinking forward as life events to come, and becoming a father.
Yes.
It's often...
That will absolutely shift a lot of people. Becoming a father, getting married, and falling in love. There's certain events. Losing people will make you reevaluate things. Hitting a birthday, you know, you're 33. When you hit your 40th birthday, I'm sure you don't think it'll be any different. I remember people telling me that, but you tend to reevaluate for some weird reason in our culture. And after 40, usually a 5-year or a 50-year, 60-year. It's just part of the way we look at life. There's a process you go through, and there'll be different things that trigger you. But when you want a real lasting change, you have to change the driving force. When we change these, it's changing your values. So again, like, think about how your brain is a predictor, and it's trying to close the gap between what it's predicting and what reality is. When it's not working, it looks for an answer. When you get to the point where your old strategy doesn't work enough and you have enough pain, you will search for something new. And if at that time we can give you something that actually works, you'll grab it. It's like if you're drowning in a sea of confusion and I throw you a life raft, you're not going to go, I don't like the color. You know, you're going to grab a hold and it comes into your unconscious. And the last thing I'd say about that is, it's also about going beyond your conscious mind, right? If you ever try to do something and then sabotage yourself, it says consciously you wanted one thing, subconsciously another. I believe all lasting change happens in an altered state. When I say an altered state, you call it hypnosis. I tell people I'm a dehypnotist. Most people walk around in hypnosis. People tell me like, you can't hypnotize me, and they're in a hypnotized state in that moment. Do you ever drive your car and then something catches your attention and you stay focused on it too long, and all of a sudden you realize, holy shit, who's been driving the car?
Yeah.
You ever had that experience? That was a hypnosis state. Hypnosis just means you're inside, not outside most of the time. And in a hypnotic state, what goes in deeper than just in a consciousness state. That's why I like doing storytelling. And my wife and I there's certain things in life that just shouldn't happen that are inhuman, and trafficking is one of them. And we had a friend that child was taken and trafficked, and it was the most brutal thing. And so I got us involved, and so now we've contributed to 72,000 children being saved. I've gone out on some of these undercover with scars on my face and elements. It's the most brutal thing you can possibly imagine. But I tell you this because when you witness certain things in life that are so intense, they alter you, they change you, they change what you value, they change what you make important in your life. And so when I say to people, you want your life to keep growing, keep putting yourself in new environments. Keep getting around things you're not used to and let something hit you. You know, like people don't know their passions because they keep going and doing the same things. It's like, get around where it's better and see what hits you. And something's gonna strike you, something's gonna wake you up, something is gonna make you feel more, desire more, want to give something to life as opposed to just live your life. Because the life you describe to those people is predictable. You get familiarized, even pain. I mean, you look at people in Auschwitz, you know, it's Man's Search for Meaning is one of my favorite books. Have you read it?
Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, and I bought the rights on making the movie, right?
Oh, really?
Oh, the reason I was telling you about the Finding the Kids is I made The Sound of Freedom. Did you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so
incredible.
And we beat Disney that week, and people thought that it would never happen, right? But that movie changed people radically, woke them up, brought resources to the table, has created real shift. Man's Search for Meaning, I think, can do that as well. But in those places, they get habituated to the pain. You get habituated to pain or pleasure. That's why we've got to grow. And when we grow, we get that life cycle, we feel more alive, and then we got something to share, and then we feel meaning, and it's like a virtuous cycle, and life gets better and better.
Last month, I told you about our sponsor, Function Health, and their team, who've developed a way of giving you a full 360 view of what's going on inside your body. They offer over 100 advanced lab tests, covering everything from hormones, toxins, inflammation, heart health, stress, and so much more. So Jack, who started this show with me, got his first blood draw done a couple of weeks ago, so I thought I'd let him tell you a little bit more about his experience.
This test really opened my eyes to personally what I should be doing with my health. I hear a lot of information in this podcast. I sit in every single recording, so to know how I can relate each one to me personally is super valuable. You sign up and you schedule your tests, and once you're done, you get a little report like the one I have here. I can see my in-range results, my out-of-range results, and there's a little AI function too, so if I have any questions about my out-of-range results, I can just go in there and ask it any question I want. And these tests are backed by doctors and thousands of hours of research.
You get an annual draw done and a mid-year follow-up. So if you want to learn more, head over to functionhealth.com/DOAC, where you can sign up for $365 a year. I'll put the link in the description below. It is just $1 a day for your health. You know, every once in a while you come across a product that has such a huge impact on your life that you'd probably describe it as a game changer. And I would say for about 35 to 40% of my team, they would currently describe this product that I have in front of me called Ketone IQ, which you can get at ketone.com, as a game changer. But the reason I became a co-owner of this company and the reason why they now are a sponsor of this podcast is because one day when I came to work, there was a box of this stuff sat on my desk. I had no idea what it was. Lily in my team says that this company have been in touch. So I went upstairs, tried it, and quite frankly, the rest is history. In terms of my focus, my energy levels, how I feel, how I work, how productive I am, game changer. So if you want to give it a try, visit ketone.com/Stephen for 30% off. You'll also get a free gift with your second shipment. And now you can find Ketone IQ at Target stores across the United States, where your first shot is completely free of charge. I was stunned at how big your business empire is. You know, even as you're speaking there, you're talking about movies that I've watched that I had no idea that you're involved in, and you're talking about all these other incredible things you've done, and yeah, your company's doing, what, $12 billion in revenue annually?
Well, it's a group of companies, not just
Group
one
of companies, yeah. And then earlier on you said you'd spoken to these 50 very, very rich people in the pursuit of writing the books that you've written about wealth and finance and money. Pattern recognition.
That's right.
what is the pattern that you noticed in those people that you then applied to yourself? What is the pattern? Well, this is called the diary of a CEO. So I'm sure we have a lot of people that are thinking about building businesses, want to get financially free, especially in a world of AI where they're very uncertain about how they'll make money and how they'll provide stability to their family. What is the pattern that you have found in all of those people that you have met and interviewed? And I know you know some of the most wealthy people on earth because I know you coach a lot of them.
Yes.
I don't think people fully realize the significance of how many of the most influential people on planet Earth you have worked with and continue to work with. I found it hilarious reading that Bill Clinton called you the day before he was going to be impeached, telling you that he was going to be impeached and asking you what he should do.
Yeah. First, let's say what everybody makes the mistake on, the majority of people. We live in a free enterprise system, and we have kids that all think communism is great. I just want you to know, I went to the USSR when it was still the USSR. I was 24 years old. I was brought there because of my firewalking experience. And I went on a train from Moscow to Siberia and back for 2 weeks. On the train, we were all fed caviar and the most incredible meals, as were all the Russians on the plane. Right? We're supposed to be all equal, right? That's supposedly what communism is. Everything's fair for everybody. Every single town, we'd stop in the square and in the square there's a big building, and they wrapped around for about maybe a quarter of a mile. People standing in the freezing cold to get a quart of milk and a half a thing of bread. I left there and I became a capitalist. I didn't know what a capitalist was, but I knew I wasn't a communist, right? So people in our country are the free enterprise system, but they don't understand it. So what are they making the mistake of? They're consumers, they're not owners. We are a consumer society, and we've trained these kids to be consumers, adults as well. So I'll give you a simple example. I was trying to give an example to a young kid the other day, so I actually did the math on it. You have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay, have you always had an iPhone?
Well, yeah, for the last decade or more, yeah.
All right. So iPhone's around for what, 18 years, 19 years? I went and did the numbers and found out what the cost was for every iPhone, added up. If you got an iPhone each time, if somebody who's older to death, you spent $22,000 and some change. That's the retail price. If you bought the stock, I went and saw what the stock was on the same day the thing came out, and you bought the stock, same amount of money of the stock.
Apple stock.
Apple stock. $326,000 right now. Instead of out 22 grand, you have 326. If you're going to use an Apple phone, I'm not saying it's Apple specific, I'm not making a recommendation, why would you not own the company? Right? Because we don't teach people to think that way, and so now they think communism is going to be the answer. They don't understand what that really means. They have no clue. So you have to become an owner. That's what you have to do. Then the second piece is, when I interviewed all these people, I found 4 things with them. I found, number one, their focus, didn't matter if they were a macro trader or if they were a value trader, or it didn't matter what their style was. The 4 things that had in common, I call them the core 4, was number one, they all were focused on not losing money. Most people are trying to make money. And the reason is they know if you lose, you got a $100,000 investment and you lose 50%, how much do you have to grow your money to get your money back? And people will say 50%. No, you got to grow at 100%. Right? Get it?
Yeah.
Right? So they know that. So they're first making sure they don't know how do they do that. They do it by asset allocation. Right? They all have different asset allocation strategies, which at the most basic level is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Most people put all their money in their business or their house, right? They know that is the kiss of death. And so they look at how to divide their assets where they have a certain amount in a more secure environment, meaning not a lot of upside, but it's kind of like the nest egg, and they have some that are more at risk. And there's different, and I learned what theirs are, and I taught those different ones. But the most valuable one, I know you know, because I read it in your book. And I was really impressed. Asymmetrical risk reward. Their entire focus is not about taking risks, right? There are only a few people. You think you're a billionaire because you took giant risks, right? No. Some do, but they don't usually stay billionaires doing that, right? How do they do it? They figure out what's the smallest amount of risk with the most amount of upside that I can do. And so Paul Tudor Jones's approach was 5 to 1. If I'm going to risk $1, I want to be certain I'm going to make 5. You and I, most average people, would normally think, I used to think, well, 12, 15, 20% return, right? But here's how it works. If I risk $1 and I'm certain I'm going to make 5 and I'm wrong, I'm down 1. I can risk $1 and still make 4. I can be wrong 4 times out of 5 and still be okay. That's how those guys become billionaires. Asymmetrical risk reward. I was talking to a gentleman who in 2008, he took $25 million and turned it into $2 billion in the worst economic time. He anticipated what was going to happen with real estate. Everybody thought it was going to keep going up. He used synthetic bets and bet against it, made $2 billion. Brilliant, brilliant job. And I said to him, what is the things that's missing for investors? He goes, well, the smartest investors are usually the worst investors because they want absolute certainty. They know everything before they decide, and by that time, the opportunity's gone. And he said, but the most important key for him was asymmetrical risk reward. He said, I think he said he risked 6 cents for every dollar. He could have been wrong a dozen times, but he wasn't. That's how he did it, right? And then the fourth one is the obvious one we both know, which is diversification, but this is the real key. You know Ray Dalio is, right?
Yeah, I've interviewed him actually.
Yeah, so Ray's a good friend. One of the questions I asked him was, if we had to reduce it to the single most important investment principle to know. I mean, you're the Da Vinci of investing. No one has made more money than you in this area. And I said, what is it? Is there one? There's got to be one. And he goes, Tony, there is. He goes, I spent almost 9 years refining this, and it's so simple. So the holy grail of investing is to find 8 to 12 uncorrelated investments that you feel strongly about. If you find 8 to 12 of those, you reduce your risk 80% and keep your upside. In fact, you slightly enhance your upside.
Uncorrelated for someone.
Uncorrelated. Now, that's the hard part today because so many markets are correlated.
What does uncorrelated mean for someone that doesn't?
Well, for example, stocks and bonds traditionally are thought of as uncorrelated, meaning, stocks in a tough time, in a growing time, stocks are where you put your money, but bonds are to protect you when the market goes down. Unfortunately, doing most things like 2008 or 2020, they both go down at that time, but nobody talks about that. They just go, it's this weird thing. It happens regularly.
So things that don't move together.
That's right. They don't move together. Well, so much is tied together today. But the only way to really do it is you've got to have private investment, private equity, private credit, private real estate. You have to diversify beyond just stocks and bonds, and then you can get that across it by different industries, different elements. Because think about this. This will blow your mind. Private equity, basic private equity, not I interviewed 12 of the best in the world. Basic private equity has outproduced every stock market in the world for 40 years. Every single stock market in the world, every year for 40 years. Now, you don't have total liquidity, you're giving something up, but your returns are in a different place. They don't have to sell when things are tough, they take advantage. These are the smartest people out there, and they're not just trying to get alpha, they're building value, right? They take a company, they put AI in it, they bring new people to it, and then they take it to the public, or in most cases, they sell it to private companies. There are fewer public companies than ever. So I looked it up, and it was fantastic to see. The average S&P for 39 years was 9%. Nice return. If you put $1 million down, you'd have $28 million, 39 years later, without doing anything. But if you put it in basic private equity has averaged 15.7%. Think about the difference of compounding that every single year.
It's crazy.
Now it's worth $328 million. That's the difference between the same investment in public versus private. So it's finding these pieces, but when you do 8 to 12 uncorrelated investments or more, reduce your risk by 80%. That's how you get higher returns and at the same time, because most people are behind.
You didn't come from a financial background.
No, I have no financial background.
You didn't study finance in university.
No.
So where did you learn all this stuff about finance?
By going to the very best on earth. Like, why would I go to university to a professor who's never done anything when I can go to 50 of the smartest people on earth? Or in private equity, I went to 13 of the smartest ones, the most successful in history.
Is your superpower learning?
Yes, I think that's what I tried to say to you from the beginning. That's what pattern recognition, pattern utilization, pattern creation is. If you don't learn at a rapid tempo in the world right now, you're cheating yourself of an extraordinary life.
Is there a tactic or a strategy to make me a better learner? Especially someone that does this podcast. I get to meet people like you, so I want to store everything in this time that we have.
Yes, I believe in immersion and spaced repetition. So I believe, did you take a language in school?
Oh God, yeah, German.
Can you speak it?
9.
That's right. So most people go to college or high school and college and they take a language, right? And 5 years later, 10 years later, can't speak a word, right? Immersion is how you do it. So if I wanted to teach you a language and you had the time and money, I would take you to Italy and I would drop you in the middle of Rome and say, I'll see you in 90 days.
Yeah.
With no one to teach you, in 90 days, are you going to be speaking the language?
Better.
You're going to speak the language. You're going to know the nuances of the language. You're going to have a pitch and tone that's more there because it's how you learned originally, by total immersion. So the reason I do 12 hours a day for 4 days, 50 hours in a weekend or 60 hours, and most people think I'll never do that, but they have the time of their life. So time disappears when you're enjoying yourself and you hate it. I mean, it feels like eternity. But the reason I'm able to do that is that immersion is like years of experience, and you're in a peak state while you're doing it. So you remember it because it's locked in, like 9/11. As opposed to 8/11. So I live that. The other thing that I do is I'm capturing, I use AI now to do it. I've kept journals my whole life, just like it looks like you've done, but I'm building on it. But I have my AI that I've been feeding over and over and over again, the things I wanted to remember, the principles, and I create structures to evaluate these things.
And I asked you there about how these wealthy investors make their money. The last question I really have around this is how the best entrepreneurs in the world make their money. Again, we're called the Diary of a CEO, so there's lots of entrepreneurs and business builders watching. And I know you've worked with many of the world's top entrepreneurs. In fact, one of them wrote you a letter.
Oh, which one?
Mark Benioff.
Oh, I love Mark. He's a beautiful man.
For anyone that doesn't know who Mark is, he's the founder CEO of Salesforce.
Yes, yeah. He actually came to 4, I think, or 5 of my seminars originally in a row, same seminar. And, Mark's as big as I am. He's a big guy, and he was going for it full tilt. And finally, after the 4th one, he came up to me and said, "You've convinced me. I'm going to leave Oracle. I'm going to start my own business. I want you to come on the journey with me. It's called Salesforce.com." He said, "We're going to change business around the world." And he said this to me. He goes, "And I promise you, we'll get to $100 million in business." Now he's doing like $42 billion, right? So, but what I love about Mark is he's a contributor. He's a social CEO. Like, he does things for society. He isn't just about himself. He's an extraordinary human being.
He said, "Dear Tony, I'm so deeply grateful for everything that you have done for me over the last 4 decades." He talked about the seminars he'd been to with you and says that you've transformed his life through your inspiration and ideas. He talks about that particular seminar you referenced as the moment that led him to go deeper and deeper and deeper. He said, "It was at date with destiny that I made the firm decision to leave Oracle and start my own company. We even had a brief conversation about it back then, if you remember."
Yeah, I remember.
Fast forward 26 years, and Salesforce now has 80,000 employees and generates over 40 billion in revenue annually. It stands as the largest enterprise software company in the world. I truly could not have done it without you by my side. And as you always say, we often overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we vastly underestimate what we can do in a few decades. Tony, I started this letter with gratitude, and I will end it the same way. When I reached my most difficult moments, you were there. When I reached my highest heights, you were also there. I never forgot that whenever I reached out for help, you returned the phone call or text, always quickly. Business and politics are temporal, but relationships are eternal, and yours is one I carry with me always. Congratulations on everything you're doing. I look forward to a wonderful future with you. Aloha, Mark.
It's very beautiful. It's very emotional. I love Mark. He's such a good man. It's very kind of him to write that letter. He says he gives me more credit than I deserve, but I love him personally. I love strangers. I'm driven by that, but I love Mark because he's such a giver. I see him as a role model of what a great CEO is. Someone who understands the social impact of what they're doing as well as the business impact. He's got a heart of gold, and of course we all have ups and downs throughout our lives, and he thinks I've just helped him, he's helped me too. It's like, it's never a one-way piece. It's not like I go around and coach all these people. I'm no idiot. I've learned so much from Mark. It's priceless, so I have to send that thanks right back to him, no question about it.
Where does that emotion come from that I see in your face?
I don't know, it's just like, I'm an emotional guy. I'm an empathetic guy, and I'm a lover. That's what drives all that I do. And to see somebody I love and to see how far he's come, and to know that I've been able to be helpful to him at key moments is meaningful. It's extremely meaningful because he's provided opportunities for millions of people, 80,000 employees, but millions of people through his creativity and his focus. And we've done a lot of cool things together. I called him one time. I was up in San Francisco for other business, and I read in the paper that this landlord was kicking out these nuns who had the food kitchen in the worst part of the city there, in the Tenderloin district. And I was like, this guy's an idiot. I mean, I gotta do something. So instead of leaving, I spent an extra day and I went and met these nuns, most incredible ladies, and they were spending all their time cooking food so they could sell food, so they could make money, so they could actually prepare food for the homeless there. And in this tiny little building, and they were getting kicked out. So I called the owner and I said, listen, I own a lot of real estate also. I understand your rights as a real estate guy, but I said, do you want to be the most hated guy in San Francisco? I said, I'll give you an option. How about let them stay to the end of the year, I'll pay their lease, I'll pay twice the amount, and then I'll get them out. I said, but you don't push them out now on the street. So he agreed. And so then I said to ladies, let's find a place for you, and I'll help you find a place, we'll rent a place for you. And then I started getting phone calls, and one of the phone calls I got was this realtor, and he goes, they're looking to buy a place. And I said, well, where are they getting the money? They said, I don't know. So I called Nevendaar up, and she goes, I said, I'd pay for a place for you guys for a year, lease you a place. I said, but I hear you're looking to buy a place. Do you guys have some capital I'm unaware of? And she goes, no. She goes, God will provide, Tony. Like, God will provide. So I spent, I don't know, $1.2 million, something like that, to find them a place. But then I called Mark, because I didn't want them living in the place. I said, Mark, match me on this. And I mean, he didn't hesitate a second. He had not even met the nuns. Then he went to the nuns, we went and met them, and he went and he bought them a home for them to stay in. And then we went through 4 years of the city trying to not let them take over this place. But that's the kind of guy Mark is. So he's incredibly generous, and I'm very touched that I could count him as a friend and be helpful to him, and he's been so helpful to me.
I've learned quite a lot about you today just from observing you, and one of the big things that I've learned is the 2 moments where I've seen tears in your eyes have both been moments where people have expressed a huge amount of love and appreciation for you.
It's true.
And I work back through your earliest years, and it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle coming into formation in my mind of how much you love love.
I do. I think love is life. Love is the driving force in my life, for sure. There's no question about it. And that's why I hate to see suffering, because it's the opposite of love. If you love somebody, well, you do anything you can. So that's what I'm called to do. And it's a calling. It's not a job. It's not a business. I have all kinds of businesses, obviously, and I enjoy business. But this is my mission. This is what I'm made for. And I'm just one guy there. I can't do everything, but I can do a lot. And I'm always thinking how to scale more, right? Whether it's feeding people or getting, my wife and I, we're fortunate enough to have our own plane, and I don't want to just burn up a bunch of carbon, so I found it's 3,000 trees. So I said, let's plant 100 million trees. So we're up to 75 million. I think we're going to hit the 100 million this year. But we didn't just plant the trees. We taught the farmers, worked with an organization about how to build a crop not once a year, but to do it across 12 different months, so that something drops out, they come out and they go from earning $1.25 a day and starving to making $12 a day, which doesn't sound like much, makes them rich in that community. So we're doing that. It's like I love making things to scale too. It's like I love the individual impact and I love the global impact. The combination of the two make life ever challenging and ever exciting.
With people like Mark and entrepreneurs, my last question about this pattern recognition, and my last question is just, as me, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm building businesses at the moment. I'm earlier in my journey, much earlier than someone like Mark. But what is the pattern that you've seen in these exceptional founders and entrepreneurs as it relates to building great businesses that you would impart on me?
I don't think there's anything I'm going to impart on you that you don't already know, because the fundamentals are so simple. The business has to be more than a vehicle for money. And don't get me wrong, there are people who have certainly succeeded that way. But if you look at the people that build something that's lasting, it has to be a passion where it's something you believe in so much. It's so valuable. It's a contribution sense to you, not just an economic sense. Because in the beginning of a business, it's like having a child, you don't get a lot back. You work around the clock. You'll discover when your first child comes and you love them. It's the pride of ownership. But if you're a lot of people start a business, think they're going to get rich overnight or and those people never succeed. So it's like finding something, a vision that not only you believe in, but others are completely moved by it, because you can attract people. You can't build an organization without great people. Do you think I could run all these companies if I was just sitting there every day? I've got some of the greatest leaders I could possibly recruit. I'm constantly looking for the second part, which is, how do I find leaders? How do I find leaders that are smarter than I am in various areas, and where I can pull together the right people together and create a culture that adds massive value and continually does so until it dominates that industry or that market or that marketplace. So I think you have to find something that's more than just a business for you. It has to be more than economics for you. It has to be a mission for the most successful people. And you have to be able to have something you can articulate that can attract people. And you have to constantly find the very best that you can. And you got to constantly prune, because the law of familiarity shows up. That's what your friends went through, right? They got all these great things, but know how great it is after a while, it's familiar. You know, it's like they don't have the same hunger. I look for not only wickedly smart people, which I love, but hungry people. When people ask me, like, what is the one common denominator of people that succeed on a massive scale around the world? I'd always in the beginning say, well, I love wicked intelligence, but I know a lot of very smart people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag in their relationship or their finances. You know, they're smart in one area and not another. But the one that is absolutely, completely accurate is hunger. The hunger to be more, to do more, to give more, to share more. Somebody who has a hunger that doesn't die, not a hunger to make a certain amount of money or a hunger to achieve, you know, a swimsuit size, but a hunger that's unquenchable. Those are the people that you know their names because they have an impact. So it's like, whether it's Richard Branson, who's in his 70s, he has the same hunger today as when he was 16 years old in that crypt in your country coming up with Virgin, right? I mean, it's same level, let's give it a go, right? He's got that piece, you know? Anybody you see, you know, look at the people you have on your show and think about how many of them still have that hunger. Kevin Hart, right? He's a friend of mine. I know he's been on your show. I mean, he's one of the hardest working guys, but he's hungry. He loves it. He just wants to do it all. To me, that's the gift. And stoking your hunger or awakening someone's hunger that doesn't have it, that's a real gift. And that's one of the gifts I think I've tried to refine within myself and help people with.
My last question is, of all the things we've talked about today and everything else that's going on in your life and the world, what is the most important thing we should have talked about that we didn't talk about?
We covered a lot of territory. I'm impressed by the diversity of what we got to cover. Thank you. We went deep. I don't know if there's anything that off the top of my head right now. I do think that I hope people leave with the idea that if I'm stressed in my life, I got to stop managing. I got to start creating. And that sounds like just an overwhelming thing, but it's like creating life on your terms, like deciding what are the immutables. It's like if you want to take the island, you got to burn your boats. If you have a way to go back, the mind will rationalize and you will go back. But if you really are committed to a greater quality of life, you got to master the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. And fulfillment is not like achievement. There's very cool real rules for achievement, like what to do with your body. Multiple ones, but there's certain fundamentals that are immutable. What to do financially, certain things that are immutable. Fulfillment, that success without fulfillment is failure. And fulfillment is an art. It's not a science. It's different for you and me and everybody we meet. And so I tell you one real fast example. I know we've gone over in time. Steve Wynn's a good friend of mine, built most of Las Vegas. A brilliant guy, absolutely brilliant. And one day, Steve calls up. He goes, there's a painting that I have coveted for over a decade. And he goes, I just recently outbid everybody at Sotheby's, and it just got delivered, and you got to see it. And I said, okay, I can't see it. I said, but I got to ask a question. How much did it set you back? And he goes, $86.9 million. I go, $86.9 million? Okay, I got to see what an $87 million painting looks like. So I go to his house, he takes me in, shows me this wall. It's a red square. It's a Rothko, if you know what a Rothko is. It's a red square, and it's not totally red, a little red and orange, right? And I look at him and go, Steve, they missed some spots. And he looks at me and gives me this look, and I start to tease him a little bit. I go, Steve, if you give me $100 worth of red paint, and you give me 10 minutes, I think I can match this. I'm just screwing with him a little bit. He knows I'm screwing him. He goes, you know, this is a Rothko. I said, I know. He goes, no, but you don't know. Like, you know, he committed suicide. He tells me the whole story, right? And I go, well, that better be blood if he has $87 million, right? But the reason I tell you this story is it's not making fun of Steve, it's making fun of me. He can look at that and he can barely see, and he knows what every stroke has meaning for him. He knows what it's about, what it means, what the uniqueness of it. He knows the man's life. I see a red square. He has an experience. The richness of life is when you go deeper and figure out what makes you feel like it's a red square for someone else, but this is your thing. This is what fulfills you. I know what fulfills me. Family, love, as you can probably tell, and contribution in a meaningful way light me up like a Christmas tree, and they've made me go for 66 years, and it'll keep me going, right? But people got to find what that is for themselves, because if you succeed and you're not fulfilled, what do you got? How many people have taken their life as super successful on the surface, but they weren't fulfilled? Some of the people made everybody on earth laugh when they took their life. Some people did businesses and took their life. You don't want, I don't think most people are going to take their life, but you don't want to live more decades and not really be here, not experiencing fulfillment. So my passion is to help people be fulfilled, not just achieve.
Amen. I mean, I've got so many other photos that I might as well show you, the ones that...
This is the moment my wife and I met.
That is the moment you met.
Literally the moment we met. How did you
Beautiful
get this?
one.
That's my mom. That's Jim Robbins. This man adopted me.
This one here.
Oh, that's down. This one is actually down in Haiti. I went down there. That's when the first group of people we went to save. All these kids, these were kids that had been trafficked. Yeah, my brother and sister. Wow. You do your homework. Very impressive.
We have a closing tradition where the last guest leaves a question for the next, not knowing who they're leaving it for. And the question left for you is, if you could choose your life span, how long would it be, and at what point would you choose to die?
That's a great question. Well, I certainly want to live as long as my family does, and now I've got to live a little longer because I got a 4-year-old. I don't know if I'd want to live forever. I don't know, there's talk about, uploading your consciousness to a machine and so forth. I believe in spirit and soul. I don't know if that's going to be uplifted to a machine. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the process, but I want to leave as much legacy as possible. I want to live as long as I'm interested and useful. Those are the two things that really matter. And my minimum, I think, is 92 is my goal, as if I had control, right? Life will tell me. But 92 is a number that somehow I've had in my head, and with some of the boosts we have with biochemistry and element stem cells, who knows? Maybe it goes past 100. But I think a century of living and giving would be an extraordinary experience for me. I don't know if I'd want to live for eternity, but I'm not at that point where that's really a choice, so I don't have to think about it. I will tell you, the only fear that I've really felt in my life was dying too soon. I think part of my drive early on was just I want to squeeze everything out of life while I'm here. I don't know where it's come from. I think, a couple things could have contributed to it, but I think death was a good counselor for me. It gave me drive. Today, it's not a fear for me, other than I want to be here as long as I can for my family and for especially all my children, but especially my youngest. But yeah, that would be my answer. I'd say not forever, but as long as I'm useful and helpful and I can enjoy it all.
You used the word legacy there.
Yeah, well, legacy is what I leave when I'm gone. In other words, I don't have to be here to continue to have impact, right? It's like, that's the best part of life. I looked at, leadership is influence, right? What makes you a leader is your ability to influence thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions of another person. If you're a positive leader for good, and I look at levels of influence. One is, can you influence someone to change their state? Then it's, can you influence them to change their state when you're not there? So you're no longer a manager, right? You've changed their values. Could you change your state and they're not there for a group of people, right? Could you change your state with a mass number of people and you're not there, right? That to me is the ultimate level of influence. And now with audios and videos and AI, especially with AI, I've got an AI that's amazing. I mean, we have 4.9 on Apple and people love it and their lives changed by it. And I'm working right now with another group to create a platform for interventions and therapy that's not just me with AI, because there aren't enough therapists, there aren't enough great therapists in the world. I want to have that. It's already in 50 languages, so the whole world. I want to leave a legacy that the world has people that can help them 24/7, 365. And I think AI is one of the tools. It's getting better and better to do that.
And what happens when you die? Where'd you go?
I don't think anything in the universe, I know nothing in the universe ever destroys, it changes form. What does that look like? Do I have conscious awareness as I do now? I don't know the answer to that question. All I want to do is make sure I live fully while I'm here, and whatever's next, when it shows up, I'll take that journey.
Thank you so much. For so many reasons. I think you've been a mentor to so many of us for so long in so many ways. Whether it's, I remember how profoundly impacted I was when I watched your piece on Netflix. And
I'm Not Your Guru, yeah.
Yeah, that was really the front door for me into your world. I'd seen your work before, I'd read the books and stuff, but for me that was really a paradigm shifting moment. I think it was in that documentary where there was a young man who was suicidal. Yeah, it was that one, the Netflix, I'm Not Your Guru.
There was one, that's how it started, actually.
Matthias?
Yes,
Matthias. That was, what, 6 years ago?
No, that was 2014.
2014,
so
okay, wow.
Years ago, yeah.
Gosh.
There was a young woman there also. I don't know if you remember the young woman that was in that sex cult with made the children have sex with the adults. That one was very emotional. I was down in Brazil and I was doing a seminar for about 10,000 people, and I'm walking through the aisle And this woman kept looking at me, and then I didn't realize it. She goes, "Don't you recognize me?" And it was her. She got herself out of the group. She wrote a book. She's now a therapist. She helps other people get out of it. So it's really fun to see years later. We actually did a follow-up at the 7-year mark or something like that afterwards to show what happened with these families. It's been really nice to see.
Did you say his name was Matthias? Matthias, I believe. Matthias. He just wanted to, he sent an email just to say that, for anyone that doesn't know, he was a guy in the audience who had suicidal ideation and was clearly struggling.
Yeah.
It's been a decade roughly since then. You supported him, you helped him, and he's just sent an email to say that attending that event that day was a huge dream for him, and the experiences that he got from that have completely changed the trajectory of his life. And those memories continue to impact him as he continues to support his growth, his habits, his decisions, and his outcomes. And he wanted to send his regards to you for that.
That's really kind of him to reach out. That's nice. I love seeing people a year later, 10 years later, 20 years later. That's the great gift of my life. I walk down the street anywhere on earth, the Sahara Desert, it's happened to me in China. People come up and say, "You changed my life," and I always remind them, I didn't change the life you did, but glad I got to help. What happened? And then they tell me stories. And outside my family, there's nothing that gives me more joy than to hear those stories.
Well, you've done that for more people than I could possibly receive emails from. Hundreds, billions, really, if we're counting the amount of people, the amount of meals you fed through the work you've done through your company. You've invested tremendously also in saving the planet through your green energy investments, which we didn't get to talk about today, but I'm going to link that below for people to read about.
One thing I would mention, if I may, is Paramount approached me, and we now have a 24-hour-a-day channel. And it's a fast channel, so it's free advertised supported television. It's a TV I grew up with instead of cable. So if you go to, whether it's Pluto, or if you go to Roku, or if you go to Amazon Prime, and you look for live TV, there's the Tony Robbins Network. And 24 hours a day, there's content there that's free that anybody can watch and educate themselves, and it's full of interventions like these that you talked about. So I hope some people will check it out, because it's another way I'm trying to give people a gift to support their lives.
I'm going to link that below, and also I'm going to put a link below to your free 3-day virtual event called Time to Rise, which I think we mentioned.
Oh yeah, please come to that. You don't mind to say come. You can do it from anywhere in the world, your office, your home, and it's coming up on the 29th through the 31st of January.
And it's perfect timing at the start of the new year.
Yeah, exactly.
People thinking about making a change in their life. I'm going to link that below as well. If anybody wants to attend, it's free, 3 days, and it's. I think it's a great continuation of the conversation we've had today, because we've talked so much about change, a changing world, and how to change thyself. And that's what you've done for me. It's what you've done for so many people, and it's an absolute honor. It's actually, for me, I have certain moments in the job that I do where I think, fucking hell, like, how lucky and grateful am I to get to do this? And this is one of those such moments that is a real dream for me, because you're such a huge inspiration to me. So thank you so much, Tony, for your graciousness. I appreciate it.
I just want you to know I feel the same way. I feel like you're the next wave of contribution to this world, and you're doing an amazing job already, but I've got a ticket to your parade. I'm going to watch how you evolve over the next couple of decades. And I know your contributions will only grow, because I feel the sincerity in your heart, not only to grow, but to give. And I hope that you continue to move towards that love and contribution that you're talking about, because I think that's your true essence. I think that's really what drives you anyway.
I think so too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. This is something that I've made for you. I realize that the Diary of a CEO audience are strivers, whether it's in business or health. We all have big goals that we want to accomplish. And one of the things I've learned is that when you aim at the big, big, big goal, it can feel incredibly psychologically uncomfortable, because it's kind of like being stood at the foot of Mount Everest and looking upwards. The way to accomplish your goals is by breaking them down into tiny, small steps. And we call this in our team the 1%. And actually, this philosophy is highly responsible for much of our success here. So what we've done so that you at home can accomplish any big goal that you have is we've made these 1% diaries, and we released these last year and they all sold out. So I asked my team over and over again to bring the diaries back, but also to introduce some new colors and to make some minor tweaks to the diary. So now we have a better range for you. So if you have a big goal in mind and you need a framework and a process and some motivation, then I highly recommend you get one of these diaries before they all sell out once again. And you can get yours now at thediary.com, where you can get 20% off our Black Friday bundle. And if you want the link is in the description below.